Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about mentors, instructors, and driving examiners and the different jobs that they have and how that job has changed a little bit since COVID-19. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about driving examiners, instructors, and mentors and the job and the role that those people are going to play in teaching you how to pass a driving test, how to prepare for a driving test, and what your driving test is going to look like in this kind of really unusual time in terms of COVID-19 and what's going on with the modified driver's test screening that you're going to have to undergo before they allow you to do a driving test, and as well what a modified driving test is going to look like, and the skills and abilities that you're going to have in place to be able to do that, because as one of the smart drivers said during the week here, that he or she could not get into the area where they were doing the modified in closed circuit training or the closed circuit testing to be able to do that. So Tim is here from Winnipeg. If we have any other people here, it might be a little slow tonight because it's the Independence Day. It's July the 4th in the United States of America there. DC is here from Ontario, and Ontario, DC, have you heard yet whether they're starting training in Toronto and the rest of Ontario yesterday? Lydia is doing her driver's test tomorrow. That is awesome. Good luck on that, Lydia, and let us drop back and let us know how that goes for you tomorrow. So as far as my knowledge goes, from what I've heard, Ontario is not open yet to do driver's tests. If it is open, then people are having a difficult time booking their driver's test or rebooking their driver's test if that's what they need to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So we'll get you updates and get you going on here. As well, what I need to know is if anybody knows what's going on in the state of Illinois. I've had a number of people ask me about Illinois, but I don't have any information about Illinois. The last thing I heard was a couple, 2-3 weeks ago in the state of Illinois that they were doing chase car tests. In other words, the driving examiner and a driver were in another vehicle and they were following you around the test area and communicating with you via radio, but I don't have any confirmation of that. So if anybody knows, that would be great. Anwar, hello, and Sign Cutter, good evening from North Dakota. Finally completed my Class A CDL, got all the endorsements as well. Long time coming. So did you pass your driver's test there, Sign Cutter, as well for your Class 1 there? And Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is really good at getting up videos and keeping the spammers out and whatnot. DC says Ontario is only doing CDL road tests for the moment, so they're doing the same thing that BC is doing. The province of British Columbia here in Canada has not opened up yet. They're still only doing CDL driver's licenses. I do have a bunch. I was just before the live stream here and got going on the live stream. I do have a bunch of notifications from my Google alerts, so I'm going to go through those Google alerts. I might even do a video just to kind of update drivers what's happening in their state or in their province and try and give you the latest information that I can. So we'll get going on. So we'll do that as well. And so what I'll do is here, I'll do a short presentation, kind of go through the presentation, get that finished up, and then after the presentation, I'll come back and answer any questions that you have. Oh, excellent, Sign Cutter. Congratulations. That is awesome that you passed your CDL license there in North Dakota. And as well, Sign Cutter, do you have a job lined up at this juncture? And we can definitely talk about that because it looks like it's going to be a little bit quieter tonight as opposed to normal. So we'll get going through the week here and get helping people out to pass their driver's test, get a CDL license as Sign Cutter did. Congratulations. That is a great feat. All right, so here we go. It's presentation. Okay, so driving mentors, driving instructors, and driving examiners. Those are three different roles of people who are going to be playing a role in your learning how to drive, learning how to get ready for a driving test, and evaluate you for your driving test, and that's going to look a little bit different. So that's what we're talking about. And apparently this one in this picture here was probably not successful in a road test and is not very happy. For those of you who might be new here watching now or watching on the replay, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver during the 1990s, running freight between Canada and the United States, mostly LTL freight. LTL stands for less than loads. It just simply means that it's 6 or 10, 12 drops on a trailer. I became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997 in a bid to come off of the highway because I didn't want to have that life anymore. And 2002, I moved to Melbourne, Australia after finishing my undergraduate degree and was accepted at the University of Melbourne in Australia and completed a PhD there in 2006. And people have asked me about that, what my PhD is. It's it's in legal history, which is a study of policing, courts, and prisons, and my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. And while I was in Australia living there, I drove buses for Greyhound, so I have some bus experience as well. Power Source Gaming, thank you so much for the super chat. That's awesome. And my friend Jonathan is here from New York as well. Bar after region enters phase 3 of reopening. Any questions I'll try to answer. That's really great. Jonathan's really great at answering, and it looks like he's celebrating his birthday today. Awesome. Congratulations. All right. Next slide here. Here we go. Okay, so new video this week. I did another video on secondary controls in a Toyota Camry. The other one I did was a couple years ago, and it was in a Murano. So I've done that. I'm also trying to keep stories up. I'm trying to keep 2 or 3 stories up to help people here. So have a look at those if you're on your mobile device, which many of you will. Okay, and as we talked about, instructors, mentors, and examiners. Mentors are going to be your friends, your parents, aunts, and uncles, anybody who's sitting in the vehicle with you while you're on your learner's license. And as most of you know, you're going to be on your learner's license from anywhere from kind of 180 days to a full year. Here in British Columbia, it's a full year. So I suggest to you get your learners as quickly as possible. For that first part of the year, drive as many different vehicles as you can in as many different weather conditions and road conditions as you can with as many different people. That will help you out to build confidence. So when you come to your driver's test, you'll have a lot of experience. But what I say to students, learner drivers, is that within 2 months of your driver's test, so in the last 2 months, make sure you stick to the same vehicle and with the same mentor as well, and that will really help you out. Okay, instructors are actually people like me who are licensed or certified by the state or province, and this is their job. They teach people how to pass a driver's test every day. And mentors, if you're taking a few driving lessons, the mentor can generally ask them questions about specific things that they are having difficulty explaining to you, because driving instructors are really good at giving specific information about what the driver needs. So ask them as well. And then finally, the last person is the driving examiner. This is the person that's going to help you right at when you're taking your test. They're going to do the evaluation. They are the gatekeeper. Power Source Gaming. Okay, we'll just transition over here. There we go. Power Source Gaming. I wanted to say thank you so much for the vids. I have been learning so much from your vids, and I have been using your techniques to help me be less anxious on the road. Keep up the great work. Power Source Gaming. Thank you so much for that. That is really awesome. And just a little tip. This is kind of a tangent on what we're talking about. But if any of you are looking at building a YouTube channel, in between your driving and all those sorts of things, one of the ways that is great advertising for you, do what Power Source Gaming here is doing, 837. Go to other people's channels where they're streaming live and make a super chat on their channel. Because as Power Source Gaming here is showing you, this gets highlighted. It sits at the top of the comment section. And it's free advertising. Well, it's not free advertising for you, but it's one of the ways that you can advertise your YouTube channel and attract people without actually, selling yourself. So keep that in mind next time you're looking at a channel and people are doing super chats. And really greatly appreciated too. And I'm so glad that we could help out. So we'll get back here. Here we go. All right. Driver's test. For mentors who are teaching new drivers to drive, a driving test. Learning how to drive to pass a driver's test is different than driving. It's different than the social driving that most of us are doing when we're driving, because social driving, you don't come to a complete stop at stop signs. You do the posted speed limit for the most part. There's all kinds of other things. You're not observing correctly, lane changes, signaling, those types of things. All of that has to be very precise when you're preparing for a driver's test. So know that and make sure that the mentor knows that, because, for example, I had a student ask me last week if they only have to shoulder check once when they're lane changing. No, you have to shoulder check a minimum 2 times when you're lane changing. His dad had been telling him something else, and he asked me the question, so I just kind of clarified it for him. But don't say, "Oh, you're completely wrong," because they're not wrong. It's just a way of driving when you're driving after you get your license. Okay, one of the things you want to do as a new driver when you're working with your mentors is allow extra time, because it's going to take, so say for example, you're going from your house to the grocery store and it takes your mom and dad 12 minutes to drive there. As a new driver, it's probably going to take you 15 to 25 minutes to drive there, because you have to get in the car and set the car up, figure out where you're going. You're not familiar with the roads. You're not familiar with the parking lots, where to park and those types of things. You're not really comfortable in the car because, it's got all of these blind areas and whatnot. So know that. It's going to take you more time, and there has to be some time budgeted in to learn, because it just takes more time. All right, be specific. With mentors, make sure that you're giving specific information to students. Years ago, I was helping a young woman to learn how to drive, and her mom said to me, "Oh, she's having trouble with her left-hand turns." Well, we got out on the road, and I started giving specific speeds that she should be going around on left-hand turns. I said, you should be slowing down to 20 kilometers an hour. In the States, that's about 12 miles an hour, to make your left-hand turns on 2 lanes, from 2-lane road to a 2-lane road. And all of a sudden, her left-hand turns cleared right up, because her mom didn't know to tell her that whatever the specific speed is, right? And for me as a driving instructor, I can give you that information about exactly how fast when I'm in the vehicle, right? It's a little difficult when I'm sitting behind the computer, but if you can get specific speeds, that will really help you out. Okay. The other thing with new drivers, make sure you work on one thing at a time. So say, for example, you're going to go out and work on left-hand turns. You're just going to do left-hand turns for the duration of the practice session. Or you're just going to go out and do parallel parks. You're going to go out and do 3 or 4 of them, and then you're going to stop and take a break, and that'll be the end of the lesson for that day. Okay? And do not exceed the student's abilities. If the student is only 2 or 3, times behind the wheel, don't take them out and expect them to make left-hand turns at complex intersections. That's just way beyond the student's ability. So know that for those of you who are students and are learning how to drive, know that about yourself, but also your mentors and those types of things. Just say to them, "Listen, I'm not comfortable doing this. Could we do something else?" And go and work on left-hand turns when you're turning, in residential areas and that sort of thing. Okay. Excellent. The vehicle. Make sure that you're comfortable in the vehicle. If it's wintertime or it's cold or you're wearing a large coat, make sure you take your coat off and get in the vehicle. Adjust the controls so you're comfortable. Make sure that your seat is adjusted properly. You're the proper distance from the steering wheel and those types of things. Make sure that you have sneakers on or trainers. Don't wear high heels or flip-flops or those types of things. And I was thinking about that today. I was driving to the beach in my flip-flops, how awkward it is to try and work the controls on the vehicle. Okay, there we go. Okay, road signs. These are some of the things that are going to cause you to be unsuccessful on a driving test. Failing to adjust speed according to signs, not being proactive in your driving and not getting over lane ends, stop signs, not coming to a complete stop, school zone signs. It's not so much of a problem now that we're into summer, but during the year when school is in session, if you don't obey the speed signs and the road markings and those types of things, all of these are going to communicate information. And so this is part and parcel of you working in and around where the test center is, so you can be successful on your driver's test. And right now, with many of the states conducting closed circuit testing, you are going to have to know these maneuvers really, really well. Turning, parking, maneuvering, slow speed maneuvers, parking, and 3-point turn, which is also sometimes called the K-turn and the Y-turn. 3-point turn, I'm just going to say to you, I had a woman from Kentucky this week, and I felt bad for her because she somehow got misinformation that the 3-point turn was something completely different, which was a 2-point reverse turn. So know the difference between a 3-point turn and a 2-point reverse turn, especially if you're in Kentucky, because you may be expected to do a 2-point reverse turn. Now, I can talk a little bit more about that here in the question and answer period. I'll just write myself a note here so I do talk about that 2-point reverse. Okay. There we go. Okay, and if you become overwhelmed or you've been driving for a long time and things are going wrong, take a break, okay? And Sign Cutter can tell you this from learning how to shift and trying to get a CDL license. You know, that once you start grinding gears in the truck, that, you know, it just, you know, you're tired. And, you know, when I used to drive truck and, you know, it was late in the night or I'd been driving really hard for a couple of days and I started grinding gears, I knew it was time to get off the road because you're tired, right? You're not really making you're not doing what you should be doing. You're not alert. You're not giving it your best. So sometimes it's just best to take a break. All right. Oh, yeah, that slide. So good luck in your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. And we'll answer some more questions here. Power Source, you are super chatting it up here. It's different for gaming channels. This is really great. Almost 5 months of driver passed on the 2nd. Thanks again. Grateful that this channel exists. I wish I came here first before my first go. Well, I'm really glad that we were able to help you out there, Power Source. That is really awesome, and you have your license. Excellent. Lightning. I've never heard of a 2-point reverse turn. Lightning, you're not alone in not knowing what a 2-point reverse turn is. And, you know, I think I had to go back and actually review what a 2-point reverse turn. And Corey, if Corey could get the video up for the 2-point reverse turn, all a 2-point reverse turn is very simple. It's just driving past a road, pulling over to the side of the road, and then backing around, and then taking off, right, in the other direction. Instead of a 3-point turn on the roadway, it's a 2-point, you just back into the street and then take off again. That's all it is. But the technical term is 2-point reverse turn. And this mom from Kentucky left a very lengthy comment telling me that it was a 3-point turn, and she was on the 3-point turn video, and she said, this isn't what a 3-point turn is, what it is in Kentucky. And I kind of felt kind of bad saying to her at the end, after she'd gone on about this and that her daughter had been unsuccessful in her driver's test, I felt kind of bad because I said, well, no, it's not a 3-point turn at all. What you're describing is a 2-point reverse turn. So I felt kind of bad for her. Okay, excellent. So it's Jonathan's birthday. Excellent. Nasty, I watched a lot of your videos to prepare for my driver's test that I took today and passed. Thanks for the help. That is awesome. Nasty, where did you pass your driver's test? Where are you in the world? Sign Cutter, I like to stay local, regional, out of central North Dakota, driving hopper bottoms. Insurance is clearly the obstacle for a company hiring new drivers. Almost everyone wants a couple of years experience. Yes, Sign Cutter, they're going to say that in their advertisements when they're putting out advertisements to hire drivers. But if you're very determined, if you go down and sit there and you say to them, you just sit in the office and say to them, listen, I'll do anything to drive a truck. I will do anything. You want me to work in the yard here? You want me to shunt trailers around and those types of things? Just tell them that you'll do all of that stuff. You got to be, I know it's tough, and I know there's the insurance, and I know they say that, but if you're determined and you have the right attitude, they're going to do the work to hire you, okay? So you can do it. You can get past that. Okay, excellent. Yes. Oh my God, Jonathan. It's so nice to go into restaurants and coffee shops and those types of things now that things are starting to open up. Oh my God. Tyrese, have our drive test booked on the same day. All right. So, excellent. Okay. And Harrison, anyone know what Downsview is doing in Toronto? As far as we know, Harrison, Ontario is still only doing commercial testing, trucks and buses. They're not doing passenger vehicles, anything yet. Okay, so, but it looks like they're booking. Tyrese says he has a test for the 4th of August for his G2. Abakar, my name is Fawaz, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm from Alberta. I have watched your driving lessons lately because I'm working on getting my Class 5. Awesome, that is excellent. And Corey's put up the slow speed maneuver smart. Corey, also, can you put the COVID playlist up as well? Because I had somebody ask me that. I am going to do a video this week for specifically people who are doing closed circuit testing. Excuse me. But there is a playlist here which has 3-point turns, reverse stall parking with cones, parallel parking with cones. So all of those slow speed maneuvers are going to be part of you doing your closed circuit testing. Those are going to be what's going to be required. The other thing that's required, one of my students asked me in Florida this week, one of the smart drivers asked me about backing up 50 feet in a straight line without a curb. And I know in California they make you do this, that they make you back up about approximately 50 feet along a curb. There is a video here. I'm going to redo that because, excuse me. One of the things I realized I rented a Toyota Camry last week and did a couple of videos with that, and working with the 2500, the Dodge Ram 2500, and shooting some videos with that with backup cameras. You guys that have backup cameras, wow, is backing into a parking space way easier. Man, you just line those two lines up in the backup camera on the lines on the parking space, and it just goes right in. And so I'm going to do a couple of videos. I'm going to do one with the buggy that doesn't have a backup camera, and I'm going to do another one with a backup camera backing up in a straight line 50 feet, and that will really help you out. Okay? All right. So Harrison, you have one booked for the 10th of August. That's great. Lightning, never performed a 2-point reverse turn in my life. No, because you know what we do, Lightning? We don't do a 2-point reverse turn. What we do, what you and I do to turn around, is we go up to the street, we duck into the street, and then we essentially do a U-turn is what we do instead of a 2-point reverse turn. I mean, why would you do all that work? That's funny. Dark, what advice would you give while you are taking the driver's test? Okay, few things that I would suggest, Dark, for your driver's test. Make sure you show up approximately half an hour before you go for your driver's test, before your driver's test is booked. If there aren't signs at the test center prohibiting you from backing into the parking space, make sure that you back into the parking space. Go in, check in, make sure you bring your license and a couple other pieces of identification when you go into the test center, and then you check in. After you check in, go to the toilet, and they'll either tell you to wait in the waiting room or they'll tell you to go out and wait in the car. Usually they go out and tell you to wait near the car. Okay, if you're early, like 20 minutes, go for a little walk and just focus on your breathing, and then come back and be in the car and be ready to go. The other thing, in preparation for your driver's test, be sure you do a pre-trip inspection on your car, okay? If you're taking your personal vehicle, make sure the lights work, make sure you got all the garbage out of the footwells, the fast food containers and whatnot. Make sure the seat belts inside work and those types of things. And Corey will put up the pre-trip inspection video for you just to make sure everything's working, because you don't want a brake light out, that's easily fixed and be denied your driver's test, because if your car isn't up to spec, they will deny you the driver's test. And as well, for those of you who are taking the driving school car, make sure you ask the instructor whether he or she did an inspection on the vehicle as well, okay? So that's the other thing, because you don't want to be denied your driver's test. I've seen students who that has happened to, and as well, I've had smart drivers here on the channel as well said that, I was denied my driving test because I didn't do, I had a light out, a brake light or whatnot. Okay, and that's basically it. And then for your driver's test for secondary controls, as I said in the video last week there, make sure you know how to turn on the windshield wipers, make sure you know how to turn on the defrost as well for the purposes of your driving test. Okay, excellent. Harrison, can you be the owner of the car and someone else be the name driver? For example, my parents own it and I'm the primary. Harrison, you would have to talk to an insurance agent about that, because I just don't know the answer for you. I would have to go and talk to an insurance agent. So if you wanted me to do that, send me an email and I'll do what I can to help you out. Okay? Jonathan, make sure you turn your neck and check your blind spots. Examine or watch to see if you're looking. When you turn, especially in reverse, if you fail to watch, you won't succeed. Yes, and that's exactly true. And as well, Corey will put up the video for you on move your head. Exactly what Jonathan was saying. A lot, some driving instructor cars, and this always mystifies me, they'll have all these mirrors in the front, all these extra mirrors, and they'll be like, oh, I'm watching the student's eyes. And it's like... and it kind of makes me laugh, because I can sit in a car with a student, or I can sit in a truck, and out of the peripheral vision, I can see whether the student's checking or not. Because if you're not moving your head, shoulder checking, if you're not looking out the back, you're not going to be successful on a driver's test. So make sure that you move your head, because your eyes don't move in your skull enough for you to do all the checking you need to do for the purposes of being successful on your driver's test. So make sure you move your head. Katie, should I reduce my speed during a driver's test when school is not in session? Katie, no, you shouldn't, because that's suggesting to the examiner that you don't know the rules. And so you do know the rules, so therefore you know that school isn't in session, unless there's summer school in session, but they would post a public sign somewhere saying that summer school is in session. But most of the time, you're not going to have to slow down in the summertime or when school is not in session. You simply do the 30 miles an hour in town or the 50 kilometers in town, depending on where you're driving, okay? Dark, you're most welcome. Sign Cutter, you're correct. I have had 3 companies tell me they would be willing to take me out on a test drive to see how I do. If they are happy with my performance, they said they would go to bat for me. Yes, excellent, Sign Cutter, yes. So determination, get a job. I know it's really tough, especially when you just come out of driving school. And for some, unfortunately, they feel a little bit like they kind of been sold down the pike because the driving schools, told them all this stuff about, oh, we'll help you get a job and those kinds of things. And then once you're done and you get your license, they kind of just like pop you out the door and it's like, oh yeah, see you later. And they, don't give you the help that you need to be able to get a job. All right. Thanks, Corey, for putting the COVID-19 video up. Excellent. Lydia in South Carolina, all road tests are in the DMV parking lot. By the way, bathrooms are closed, which is really sad. Oh, oh, thank you for that point, Lydia. Oh, yes, I forgot. Okay, well, make sure that you go to the toilet before you leave home when you go in for your driver's test. And, if you're like me and have a bladder the size of a walnut, make sure that you don't drink any water or coffee on the way there. Oh, that's terrible. Jonathan, if you do that, if you go the speed limit of the school zone and school's not in session, the examiner may ding you for that. They may fail you for that because you don't know the rules. So I would counsel against that. Okay, Katie, you're most welcome. Okay, who else we got here? Excellent. Tariq, how are you? And Nasty passed her driver's test in Michigan yesterday. Okay, wasn't yesterday 4th of July, Nasty, and you were doing a driver's test, or did you do your driver's test today? Wow, they are really on it in Michigan if they're working towards getting through their backlog there. Ray, okay, I had my 3rd lesson at a New York driving school recently, and the mentor was telling me my turns were perfect, but he isn't seeing my neck movement into the blind spots. Your video helped. Excellent. Well, I'm glad that we could help. He was not very helpful, and I was right next to him. Yeah, unfortunately, Ray, some of the driving instructors, there's a wide degree of expertise and ability to convey information to students on the part of driving instructors, and it saddens me a little bit. Especially when things like what happened in Georgia when they rescinded moving learner drivers into the novice phase or the probationary stage of their license, and then some driving instructor comes forth and says, oh my God, we're all gonna die. That driving instructor is simply, it's a complete visceral response. It's just them, this is their opinion, and they don't have any statistics or any information to back that up with. They can't come forth with proof to do that, and unfortunately it gets a response from people, and it makes me upset. It really makes me upset when driving instructors are held up and they don't have information for that. They don't have statistics. They don't have studies to back up what they're saying. They're just going on their own gut feeling. I mean, basically the driving instructor in the state of Georgia who came forth, basically she was saying, oh, parents and students are irresponsible because most of them just whatever driving lessons they get, this is how they learn how to drive. And I'm like, that's not true at all. Most parents, I would say 90% of parents are incredibly responsible in helping their teenage children how to drive. I mean, I have all kinds of parents all the time who come on the channel here, ask me, not only ask me questions. I mean, Joe's not here right now, but Joe is a perfect example of that. They're coming on here. They're learning what their students have to do to pass a driver's test. They're very involved with what their students are doing. So, when a driving instructor puts that forth, and that's the basis of their argument for not moving drivers to the probationary phase or probationary stage of their license, I'm like, that's you don't have any proof. That's just your opinion, and your opinion in my thinking is completely wrong, right? And calling students and parents irresponsible, I mean, it bothers me. Okay, Nancy from Northwestern Ontario. How can get my appointment for my G license? First was in May. Now it's canceled. Phone and nothing and online. Same thing. Thank you for your help. Oh, you're most welcome, Nancy. Nancy, you're really gonna have to be tenacious. You're really gonna have to go at them. And what I would suggest to you is you might even go down to the test center, down to the MTO, and actually just show up and see if you can get an appointment, or get one of the counter staff to actually book you an appointment. That's what I might suggest to you, because calling online, they're going to be incredibly busy. Okay, so Michigan is doing driving tests on Sunday after 4th of July. Their driving examiners in Michigan must not be they must not be union. Too funny. Jonathan, commercial schools are kind of like that unless you become a school bus driver or you find a position for beginners. It's a struggle. I take the school bus to start my driving experience. Yes, and that was good thinking. My next step is to get my Class A. Jonathan, my advice to people who are dealing with just one instructor: listen to a variety of people and research what you practice when you're taking your lessons. Yes, because then you can make up your own mind about what's right and what's wrong. But it's and this is what I suggest to people who are like Jonathan and other people, sign cutter. If you're going to a driving school, the first question I tell you to ask the school: am I going to be with the same instructor? Because the learning curve for commercial drivers is really steep. I mean, it is straight up, especially the first 2 or 3 days. Jonathan will tell you that. Sign cutter will tell you that. Any student who's gone to do a CDL license at a truck driving school, the first few days are just like overwhelming, incredibly overwhelming. You want to stay with the same driving instructor, because if you're being moved around between different driving instructors are going to teach different things. They have different ideas about how things should be done, and even the vocabulary that they're using is different. And it's going to confuse you, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're trying to learn. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you're trying to get your head around. And, one person's telling you one thing and another person's telling you something different. It's too hard. So go with driving schools. Hopefully you have the luxury of picking a driving school that will put you with one driving instructor for the duration of your course. And then, as Jonathan's saying, then get different information from different people and whatnot, so that, you can make up your own mind about what's the safest and most efficient way to do things when you're doing your truck driving school. Okay? My advice, okay, we already talked about Tyrese. So apparently you need a mirror for the driving instructor on the passenger side if you want to use a personal car. Where did you get that information, Tyrese? Because I've never heard that before. Loya, how are you? Excellent. And yourself, how are you? Awesome. Brilliant. Yeah, Tyrese, I've never heard that before, about the fact that you have to have another mirror in the vehicle. Also, if they're going to say that you need another mirror in the car, why wouldn't they say that you need, second set of controls as they have in an instructor vehicle? Okay, all of that. Taking the knowledge test on Tuesday, do you have any tips? Okay, Legends, DOL. What does DOL stand for? Is that supposed to be DOT? Knowledge test. You're taking the knowledge test on Tuesday. Yes, there is a learner's license playlist here, and Corey will put that up for you as well. Jonathan, luckily the same commercial driving school I went to, the same instructor that I have on the school bus also does tractor trailers, so I'm sticking with him because he helped me tremendously. Excellent. That's a good driving school, Jonathan. If you're working with the same driving instructor for the duration of your, both your bus driving and your tractor trailer, that's really great. Okay. Tyrese, I Googled it for Toronto. Okay, well, like I said, Tyrese, I've never heard that information before. If you're taking your own personal vehicle, if you show up in your own personal vehicle, you don't have to have any extra mirrors or pedals or anything like that in it. I just haven't had that. But if you're concerned about it, my suggestion, Tyrese, is not to get the information from me. My suggestion to you would be to go down to the MTO office where you're going to be taking your test and ask them that question, because that's a question you want answered, because you don't want to show up with your personal vehicle and they're like, well, there's not another mirror in there, and you'd be denied. Because sometimes... Sometimes, even though they're all supposed to be the same, all the DOT offices and all the MTO offices, even though they're all supposed to be the same, every now and again there's one that kind of goes rogue and puts in this rule that hasn't been sanctioned by the higher ups and says, oh, you got to do this, and they don't have any authority for that. So that would be my suggestion to you. Fabia, my permit expires next year, but I want to get it as soon as possible. My parents told me that I perfected everything except parallel parking, reverse, and K-turns. And you'll also notice, Fabia, I'm sorry, I'm probably not saying that correctly, that once you get the parallel parking, the reversing, and the K-turn, the Y-turn, 3-point turn down, all the same thing there, that your driving will improve tremendously, and you'll be better off once you get those things all into place. Jonathan, my instructor from commercial driving school was impressed with how I did the pre-trial on the school bus and asked me how I knew to do it almost perfectly. I told him I watched a lot of videos. Yes, and a lot of videos will definitely help you out. Excellent. Philip, first of all, I must confess you are doing a great job, sir. Thank you, sir, for your selfless service. I'm taking my test on Friday in Edmonton. Any tips? Yes, we do have tips, and we'll cover those one sec here. Dark, what's the first thing the instructor looks for when you get into the car? Excellent question. Okay, that's going to be covered with that answer. Jaden, how are you, my friend? Got the invite for the live stream on Instagram, but maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I'm quitting my current apartment before I move, and I'm pretty happy that I'm cleaning it. Awesome. So you're moving. Excellent. No, I didn't get the invite there, Jaden. Sorry about that. Corey's put up the video for the learner's permit there, so I forget who asked. Somebody asked me that. Legends, DOT learner's permit. There's some tips there as well. Test in Edmonton on Friday. Okay, so again, there's four components to any driver's test. All right. Dark, excellent question. I'll deal with yours first. First thing you do when you get in the car, okay, so you if you can, and most driving centers you're going to be able to do this, you're going to be able to back into the parking space. And you want to do that, okay? Because you don't want to have to back out when you first start the driving test. So you're going to drive out and make sure that you signal in the direction you're going to go, whether you're going to go left or right out of the parking space. Make sure you signal every time you change directions on the vehicle, even if you're reversing. Okay, so when you're doing your 3-point turn, when you go across, you're going to move to the left. So make sure you signal left when you start your 3-point turn. And then when you back up, you're going to go to the right. So you're going to signal to the right. Okay, that's the first thing that the driving examiner is going to be looking for. When you pull out of the parking space. So if you go left or right, whichever way you go, make sure that you signal. And when you come back at the end of the test, most of the time the driving examiner will have you back into the parking space. Same thing. If you pull past it and you're going to come around on the left side, make sure you signal to the left to indicate that you're going to move and turn into the parking space. Okay, that will get a lot of students because they forget to signal when they're reversing. All right, driving tests all consists of 4 basic components, okay? Speed management, space management, observation, communication, okay? Space management, if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something, all right? 2 to 3 second following distance for the duration of the test. And if you're in congested areas, downtown, whatnot, space management takes precedence over speed, okay? What I mean by that is if traffic is going slower than the speed limit, and in order for you to maintain your good space management, you can't go any faster than what the traffic flow is, okay? So, stopping at intersections before the stop sign, before the crosswalk line or the sidewalk, and if those two conditions don't meet, then at the edge where the two roads meet. In the last couple of weeks, I've had some students who've been a little bit unclear about where to stop at the stop line. Okay, if you stop back from the stop line so you can still see the stop line in front of your car, you're too far back from the intersection. You come up, you're preparing to stop at the intersection. Just as the stop line rolls under the front of the car, that's when you come to a stop. And if you're and you'll know that you're only about 2 or 3 feet from the stop line there, okay? So, what else? 2 to 3 second following distance, and when you stop in traffic, make sure that you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the pavement. Left-hand turns, make sure you wait with the front steer tires on the front crosswalk line. That way you're committed to the intersection, but you're not in the intersection. When the gap presents itself, then you move into the intersection and turn expediently. And immediately after making a left-hand turn, move into the right-hand lane. And unless the examiner tells you that you're going to turn left again in a couple, 2-3 blocks, okay? Always move back over to the right. So that's space management. Speed management, we talked about that. It's either the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic. And no, you can't drive 5 kilometers an hour less than the posted speed limit or 5 miles an hour less for the duration of your test. You will not be successful, so don't do that. Okay, and then the last one is communication, and the way we communicate with other traffic is signals and lights. Horn, but use your horn sparingly in this day and age because it's seen more as a sign of aggression. Hand gestures, make sure you use all 5 fingers. Don't tell them they're number 1 on a driver's test. Eye contact, if it's a pedestrian, you're not sure what they're doing, make sure you get eye contact with them. And then the last way we communicate is the most effective, which is the position of our vehicle on the road surface. Okay, so if we're in the left turning lane, it's probably a good idea, or another vehicle's in the left turning lane, that they're going to turn left. Okay, so that's basically what you need to do for the purposes of your driver's test. Observation is the one that I didn't go over. Observation, shoulder checking twice every time you move the vehicle sideways, every time you turn. So you're going to signal, mirror, shoulder check approximately half a block from your turn, and then immediately before your turn, shoulder check in the direction that you're going to look. And shoulder checks are only 90 degrees, okay? Because your peripheral vision is going to take care of the rest. And I've had a couple of people ask me what they're looking for in the blind areas. You're looking for pedestrians, cyclists, motorcycles, anything that could get into the space, into your blind areas around your vehicle, okay? Scanning pattern as you're going down the road. Far down the road, check your instrument panel. Far down the road, check one of your wing mirrors. Far down the road, both shoulders, check your other wing mirror. And your observation, your scanning pattern is in keeping with your speed limit, because you should be adjusting your speed limit every 10 to 15 seconds while you're driving. So that's observation. And then reversing, 360-degree scan around the vehicle. Check your mirrors, check your backup camera if you have one, and then looking out the back window for the duration of backing up. And stop every vehicle length when you're reversing and have another check, okay? Check 360 degrees, both your mirrors, check your backup camera, and then continue to back up again. All right, so that's basically it in a nutshell. Ray, people drive so bad in New York City, it's scary. That one thing my instructor was good at showing me. Awesome. Drive Smart BC, my friend Tim. Time to quit watching and have supper. Back next week. Thank you so much, Tim. Enjoy your supper. Jonathan, I'm from New York City, and trust me, I know from experience. One time a truck rear-ended a car and he drove off. I've seen videos of bad drivers and see them on the road during my school runs. Yes. And I've driven in New York too, so I know what you guys are talking about there. I drove in the 1990s for quite a spell. I was running into New York from Ontario. Okay, Tyrese, so there are a couple of ways of doing the reverse parking, but which is the right way to do it, or does it matter? Okay, Tyrese, do you have a backup camera in your car? Just let me know that. How to pass the driver's license road test first time. Corey's put up the playlist for you. Excellent. Agnes, hey Rick, I took my driver's test and I did really well, except I have to work on my speed when I turn. My instructor told me I did everything great except that, so I'm coming back on the 15th of July. Oh, sorry to hear that you weren't successful, but no, that'll be really great once you get that. Getting my license since I've worked on this, but your videos really helped. Awesome. I'm so glad that we could help out, Agnes. Brilliant. Jaden, when I was doing my errands, I had to stop at a traffic light and a semi just went through passed a red light, so I called taking him to stop. Was he like on the other side, or was he on the same side as you were, Jaden, that he just blew through the light? Because sometimes, you know, okay, sometimes it's negligence. Other times when semi-truck drivers go through a light, it's the fact that they can't get the truck stopped before the light went yellow to red. And I've had this situation where I've had particular freight in a dry van that has no business of being in a dry van. For example, big, huge 8-foot rolls of paper in the back of a dry van. And a dry van is just a box, right? And a lot of people think that semi-trailers are these big monolithic things that can't be destroyed. Well, basically it's aluminum over some ribs, over some steel ribs and a bit of plywood on the inside. There's nothing really holding the freight inside of a dry van. And, you know, rolls of paper, rolls of steel have no business being in there. They should be on a flat deck and strapped down. And if you come up to the light and that light goes from yellow to red, as sometimes happens to us, and you're driving a semi-trailer that's fully loaded, you're just going to go through the light because you know there's a buffer space there from when this light goes red to the next one goes green. And you're going to prevent the freight in the dry van coming through the front of the trailer. And that's the reason that some of these guys will do this. They will blow through lights like that. Tyrese, no backup camera, but I'm really good at reverse parking. I usually swing the car out to the right and in the lot, then reverse. And okay, and make sure when you do that, Tyrese, that you swing out to the right. Make sure that you signal and you shoulder check before you do that, okay? Because I know what you're talking about. You come up and then you swing out so it's on a bit of an angle and then you reverse in. But make sure you signal in that direction and shoulder check on your driver's test, okay? Otherwise, you'll get points, you'll get demerits for that. Dark Abyss, what's the average percentage of people passing their driver's test the first time? Dark Abyss, if you have driver training, the number of people passing the driver's test on the first go is 95%. It's really high if you've taken driving lessons with an instructor. And if you're not taking driving lessons with an instructor and you're working off the videos here on my channel, or, you know, just out practicing by yourself, what I suggest to you is to book a practice driving test with a local driving instructor, 3 to 4 days before your test, because what that will allow you to do is the driving examiner will take you out. He or she will take you on the test route around your test center, and they will give you feedback about your preparedness for the driver's test. They'll say, okay, listen, everything's really good. You need to do a bit of work on your right-hand turns. Slow them down a little bit, 8 miles an hour, or 12 to 15 kilometers an hour for a right-hand turn. So the driving examiner will do that, and that will ensure that you're totally prepared to take your driver's test. And I can't say that enough right now because of the backlog that many of the test centers are dealing with right now. You don't want to have to try and rebook your test because you may end up waiting for a while. So you want to nail it the first time that you go in, okay? Agnes, many hours you can pass. Excellent. Krishna, can you help me? Driving school test, left-hand driving school, CDL license, sir. Krishna, where are you taking your CDL test? Let me know that. Jaden, he was on the same side of the road as me. Okay, so you got stopped for the light and he kept going. Or the truck kept going, rather. It might have been a female driver. Stefan, this is Stefan. I would like to get my license, but I'm nervous. Stefan, you can do it. You can do it. And Corey, I'll put the video up for you on fear and anxiety around driving. Okay? So, Stefan, remember the 4 most powerful words in the English language. I can do this, right? And there's ways to do this. I know you're anxious. I know you're freaking out about getting in the car and learning how to drive, but get in the car 3-4 times a day. Just get familiar with the car, figure out where the secondary controls are, get comfortable with the primary controls. If you're going out with your mentor, start working in a parking lot, drive around in low density traffic, and do it for short periods of time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes at a time, until you get more comfortable and your anxiety, you begin to get control of that. Okay, so it's just exposure to what you're afraid of, and then just doing it, and and then realizing that you can succeed and you can get your license and do this. Okay. Experience in India more than 18 years. Right hand side, sir. Okay, so Krishna, are you still in India, or are you immigrating to Canada? Because if you're coming to Canada and you want to learn how to drive truck, the first thing you're gonna have to do is get a work permit. That's gonna be a bit tough for you. DC, are driving instructors operating in BC? As far as I know, I've seen the driving in schools out here around in the cars and those types of things, but I'm not sure. I'm almost certain that the students, my information that I have is they're only doing CDL testing. They're not doing passenger vehicles. Okay, excellent. All right. Yes, okay. And Dark Abyss, just on that note of the average percentage of people passing driver's test, if you don't take driver training, it's a 50% failure rate. So again, the course is available over at the Smart Drive Test website. Pass your driver's test first time, and it'll give you all the information you need to be successful on your driver's test first time. Okay, and you can pick that up for about 38 bucks. And also, we throw in the defensive driving course and the winter driving course. And for those of you in Texas or the southern states, all of the techniques and skills that I teach in the winter driving course will work for any type of inclement weather, whether you're driving in fog, hail, heavy rain, or anything like that. So it's a really good top-up after you get your license and helping you to learn how to drive. And excellent. Thank you for that, Corey. Corey's put up the 9 tips to reduce fear and anxiety. And 52, my foot placement on the pedals feels awkward. Any tips? Yes. Corey, if you could put up the video on secondary controls that I put up last week, I actually talked about that. When you're working the throttle and the brake in an automatic vehicle, and even in a standard vehicle, you're going to work it with your right foot, and you simply put your heel on the floor, and you're going to work the throttle, and you're either going to work it with the ball of your foot, or you're going to take your toes and curl your toes up and then work the throttle. Either one of those will work. You have to determine which one feels better for you, just to work it with the ball, or whether you curl your toes up and work the throttle that way. When you work the brake, don't lift the heel of your foot up, leave it on the floor, and then rotate, and just rotate over and work the brake. And again, work it with the ball of your foot. Try that and see if that helps you out with your foot placement on the pedals there. Agnes, I have a question. Some stop signs are in places that you can't see, and the line to stop is past the stop sign. So do you stop before the stop sign or the white line? My instructor said stop at the line. Yes, and your instructor is correct, Agnes. The stop sign, the position of the sign, has nothing to do with where you stop at the intersection, okay? So all intersections are the same, whether it's a stop sign, whether it's a yield sign, or whether it's a controlled intersection with a traffic light. Stop line, before the sidewalk or crosswalk line, and if those two conditions don't exist, then at the edge where the two roads meet, that's where you stop. One of 3 stopping positions at any intersection, okay? Signs have nothing to do with where you're stopping at the intersection. All right, okay. All right, Krishna, if you're in India and you're trying to come to Canada, the first thing you have to do is you have to get a work visa, okay? So you have to go on the Canadian immigration website, and you have to figure out whether you qualify for a work visa, because if you don't have a work visa, you can't come to Canada, you can't train to get your license, and you can't work in this country. Unfortunately, that's the way that it works if you're coming in from another country. Excellent. So, as I said before, I've got a lot of stuff to go through in terms of licenses, centers, and that kind of thing reopening this week. I probably do a video on that just to update people. I'll give you a link to the opening schedule over at the Smart Drive Test website. I've put that over there, and you can go to the front page and check that out. Okay. Okay, excellent. All right. So, I think we're out of questions here, so I'm going to wrap up a little bit early tonight and help you out. But if anybody has any questions, send me an email over at rick@smartdrivetest.com. I'll do what I can to help you out. I'll answer your questions. And yeah, and this is what's happening. So figure out what's going on at your test center, whether they're doing a regular test with screening. And regular tests with screening, whether they're doing closed circuit testing or whether they're doing chase car vehicles. And if anybody watching now or watching on the replay knows what's going on in the state of Illinois, please let me know. I've had a couple of people asking about Illinois, and I have no confirmation of what the state of Illinois is doing in terms of their tests. Okay, excellent. And Corey's put up the video on how to operate primary controls. New York is opening tomorrow with phase 3 driving centers. Direct, do you know whether they're doing closed circuit testing or whether they're doing regular testing there in the state of New York? Epic, your videos on low speed maneuvers are so helpful that includes treating one of them as a yield junction. If you cannot see the oncoming traffic, some jurisdictions require personal protective equipment for mentors and instructors. Yes, excellent. And as well, exactly what Epic said there about stopping at controlled intersections. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier about stop lines, crosswalk lines, or stopping at the edge of the road where the two roads meet. As Epic said there and reminded me, if you stop at the correct stopping position at the intersection, but you can't see cross traffic, then treat the intersection as a yield. Okay, move up until you can see, yield to all of the traffic, and then turn the corner. Okay, so you're not sure what's going on in New York. Okay, so we need to figure out that information as well. New York is opening up tomorrow, but we need to figure out what kind of driver's test they are doing. So if anybody here now or on the replay has that information, leave the information here, and that'll definitely help other people out. Agnes, my instructor had to suit up in something like a hazmat to test me, so if they are in the car with you, they will be in a special suit. Yeah, like that's not distracting either. Okay. Yes, it's definitely definitely catching up with all of the backlog with the driving tests and those types of things. All right, so we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your comments. Thumbs up if you're watching now or watching on the replay. Appreciate all of the questions. Appreciate the super chats. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And yes, we'll get through all of this craziness with the testing, closed circuit testings, phase 3 opening and whatnot, and definitely help you out. So, if you have any questions, leave us a comment. We'll answer your questions as best as I can, and we'll talk to you through the week. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.